Zionists are losing their minds once again after Megyn Kelly, who has been under fire for refusing to condemn Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, dropped a bombshell video of Charlie Kirk telling Tucker Carlson to go max against Israel before they got on stage for a Turning Point USA event. This is further proof that Charlie Kirk's views on Israel were shifting, and Kelly explains here why he continued to platform Tucker Carlson at Turning Point USA events despite threats and moral blackmail by Zionist donors. Also, the Democrat Oversight Committee released never-before-seen emails between Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, and they are saying that this implicates President Trump. We'll start there. But before we do, guys, and as always, please subscribe to join me in this God First movement. Help me grow this community as we fight and stand for one nation under God. This is the only way that we can remain free to pursue the work and potential that we were created for. I'm Zach Costello. The Democrat Oversight Committee apparently finally worked up the courage to release more Epstein emails, and they are claiming these prove President Trump is guilty. Emails between Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were released with Epstein telling Maxwell that, "I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. The victim's name is redacted, but the victim spent hours at my house with him. He has never once mentioned police chief, etc. I'm 75% there." Maxwell responds with, "I have been thinking about that." To me, this exchange between Epstein and Maxwell increases suspicion that they were spies and actually decreases my suspicion in President Trump. They are admitting that Trump hasn't barked yet. Basically, they haven't broken him yet. This looks to me like an op being conducted by Epstein and Maxwell against Trump at the time. Also, and again, this exchange is supposed to be with Virginia Giuffre, who has already come out and said that nothing happened between her and Donald Trump. But again, why the release of this single email? And this is getting into the bigger issue that we need to address. There is a lot of talk right now and fingers being pointed at what is being called the woke right, headlined by people like Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, and Candace Owens, for dividing the right and destroying the MAGA coalition. Zionists like Ben Shapiro, Dave Rubin, and Josh Hammer, and the like, say that Tucker Carlson and his platforming of Nick Fuentes is the cause of this destruction, the cause of this deepening divide. The fact of the matter is, though, this divide on the right happened way before Tucker interviewed Nick Fuentes. The fracture in MAGA began to occur when Pam Bondi gaslit us over these Epstein files and the sham binder release with MAGA influencers. You see, what got Trump over the hill to victory in 2024 was the young anti-establishment vote. Trump was supposed to be the anti-establishment president, and the administration that he put together was supposed to root out the government corruption, military-industrial complex, neocons, deep state, big pharma collusion, and the anti-free speech machine that had been built to get the American government working back on behalf of everyday working-class common-sense Americans. The Epstein file release, or lack thereof, violated our trust. It's not about Trump being guilty in the files. It's about who is guilty in the files and their protection that's being granted to them. Trump chose the elites over us, and we were promised that this wouldn't be the case. Many young Americans also feel like the interests of Israel are being put ahead of the interests of Americans. What was so special about Charlie Kirk is that he understood the pulse of the young anti-establishment voters in America. He knew their shifting views on U.S. foreign policy, and he understood the why when it comes to the unfavorable perception of Israel. He began to see it, which is why he thought it important, I would assume, he isn't here to speak for himself, to continue to platform Tucker Carlson at Turning Point USA events, despite Zionists, who are unwaveringly pro-Israel, obviously, withdrawing money and morally blackmailing him. These Zionists are now losing their minds once again over what Megyn Kelly just released, this video proving further that Charlie's views on Israel were shifting, and he wanted to push the conversation about Israel at Turning Point USA.
But I found a video of me, Tucker, and Charlie speaking backstage right before Tucker went out. Tucker and I were talking. Charlie came over and interrupted for just a second, and you can hear him on this tape, which I've listened to many times. It's very clear on my phone, less clear here probably as we play it, but he says to Tucker, go Max. He interrupts the conversation because he has to say to Tucker something. And what was so important to him to tell Tucker was go Max. Here it is.
Go Max. Come on.
It's quick. It just happens to be on tape. And it backs up what Tucker said. And so I just think we need to be realistic. Charlie understood what was happening to the conservative movement over Israel. He probably understood it better than any of us because he absolutely loved Israel. And yet he represented and was of young people. He was young. That was his constituency. That's where he spent all of his time. And he knew that even on the right side of the aisle, they had turned and were turning on Israel. And knowing all of that, he told Tucker to go out there and do all the things Tucker did. Go Max, he said. Now, why did he do that? Because he knew there was a faction within the conservative movement that needed a voice. They needed somebody to put their thoughts and their complaints and their objections into words in a public setting and not just cede the whole argument to the other side, which has been dominating conservative thought and media forever. You know, the Mark Levins of the world. And so it's one of the many reasons why I really object to this attempt to otherize, snuff out the voice of Tucker Carlson. Charlie knew exactly where Tucker stood on these issues and wanted him, and I quote, to go Max. The answer to what is happening right now on the conservative half of the aisle is not to silence Tucker, to diminish him to the point where he doesn't have followers. Not that that's possible, you lunatics, or to try to delegitimize Tucker. If anything, Tucker is a remaining voice for Charlie, whose views were changing himself.
The reality is, Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, both of whom Charlie Kirk remained friends with and continued to communicate with despite Zionists and Turning Point USA board members like Eric Bolling lying about it, and then Dave Rubin reposting it, Zionist lying once again, and Josh Hammer calling Tucker Carlson the most dangerous anti-Semite in America. These are voices for many young anti-establishment Americans. This doesn't make us evil, possessed by a demonic spirit, or stupid. And this is why so many are alarmed and suspicious by the fact that now Charlie isn't here to speak for himself. There is this massive push to cancel Tucker from Turning Point USA events, which Charlie never wanted. But in the immediate aftermath of his death, Zionists jumped out and hijacked Charlie's legacy that he was a never wavering supporter of Israel. Tucker Carlson is the most dangerous anti-Semite in the world and should never go near Turning Point USA. And Candace Owens has some mental illness, and Charlie had a silent breakup with her over the fact that she chased down too many rabbit holes. These are all lies, 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 lies. And then they turn around and blame the woke right, as they call those Christ is King voters, for the division. I'm Zach Costello.